Welcome to the Blackout Show, presented by the Guillen Grid, a show about the Chicago White Sox baseball, the good, the bad, the ugly. We'll debate what's working and what's not on the south side of Chicago. It's old school versus new school baseball. And most importantly, we're keeping all the receipts.
Yo, what is up, everybody? It's Gonzo here. Justin is back, and this is episode 27 of the Blackout Show of Season 1. Jay, you're back, and so is our boy, Yohan Moncada. Take it away, Jay, because you are just as much as fan as I am.
Yeah, he's been absolutely killing it, hitting the ball out the ballpark. Now the strikeouts have been piling, but as a person who wants to see Yohan Moncada swinging the bat in volume, I don't give a damn about the strikeouts. Just keep driving the ball with OPS and slug. Our boy King Mac is hating any Yohan Moncada success, and me and him got a bet on him and Oscar Colas' home run total, and I haven't seen Oscar Colas swing a bat in a long time, Gonzo.
I haven't seen Moncada, being optioned down to Charlotte in a while either.
Not gonna happen. Gonna happen.
Hey, but let's just face it. We came in we got Tim Anderson and Yohan Moncada both in the second half, playing a whole lot better than what they did in the first half, and that is big going into their contract seasons. Talk to us, Justin. What going into 2024, how do you see this playing out between the two of them?
Well, the White Sox got to be careful because they could be in a very gregarious situation, gauging the fact that Tim Anderson and Yohan Moncada very well can bounce back in 2024 and give you a very productive year. Now, if you're the White Sox and internally you're not envisioning neither one of them in the plans, how do you capitalize on them producing at the best of their ability, or at least a clip to where you'll get return value? Now I'm gonna fucking reverse this like we're playing Uno, Gonzo. Do you trust Chris Getz to make a trade with Tim Anderson when he's at the peak of his powers? Do you think Chris Getz can get return value in a situation like that? Now I ask you.
Yeah, it's an interesting point because Chuck was with Gordon Beckham on the podcast this past week, and they were talking about whether or not Chris Getz is going to succeed or fail as a GM. And Gordo was very optimistic of his fellow teammate of his, because ultimately he brought up in that podcast that he ended up pushing Chris Getz out of Chicago, and they traded, because we wanted Beckham as our first round pick to play second base, and that ended up, pushing Getz out of your trade to where but not least Kansas City. And ultimately what Gordo brought up, since Chris has been in the front office with the Sox, is he gets a lot of text messages by Chris Getz saying that, trade scenarios. And he stated that Getz always seems to be ahead of the 8-ball, essentially. And some of these texts that he's received, he stated that he seems like he wants to trade players well before, things really go off for them. And if that's the case, I'm sure with how desperate he is going to be to prove himself, he's going to try to, test the ball on some of these guys in their contract seasons. Me personally, I don't see it because I just think the rest of MLB has already seen what we got and they're not going to deal for it. And me personally, I want to take a bet. I want to, bet on them. Bet on TA in a contract year. Bet on Yohan Moncada in a contract year because we saw what Moncada did before he got paid. Because I just think in Moncada's stance, it's hard to get rid of that 21 million or whatever it is to begin with. Was it 21, 24 million?
Yeah, that's an albatross.
That is so hard to move. And plus, I mean, now don't get me wrong, like going into spring training, I'm going to put competition in those spots. I think you got Lenin Sosa and Jose Rodriguez, allow both of them to play shortstop and third base to create some competition because let's face it, Timmy and Moncada hasn't had competition here in this organization. Why not put their feet under the fire, get them going?
Yeah, do that in spring training. Do that in the winter. Don't wait until it's time to call somebody's young ass up to think it's going to light a veteran's fire. No, put it on the backfields of spring training. You got to make it known that your spot is not locked. And I think that's something, complacency in the White Sox front office. Like, we've got internal options available. Yeah, sure, but you're only getting better in increments. Like, think about this. We were kicking ass and taking names with Tony La Russa, right? Mm-hmm. That roster wasn't vastly improved from what we had last year. It's just players were playing better. So if you can upgrade within your fucking organization, but are you gonna motivate within your organization? That's the key. What's gonna motivate Tim Anderson to go ahead and show out? Now, I'm not saying that Tim Anderson has a problem with, getting up and being a baseball player, but for my boy Yohan Moncada, it seems like he can do well with a little bit of external inspiration rather than just fucking trying to get better players. How about we figure out what lights a fire internally? Maybe we need to get back into creating more competition earlier in the season and don't wait until we play somebody else on the calendar.
Yeah. And Justin, to go along with that, I want to give you some numbers here because I know some of our scumbags and us, we're all about the numbers. But me and you, we're mostly baseball guys, but we do like to hear some numbers. And I'm going to bring up both Moncada and Tim Anderson. Can you take a guess at what Moncada's slash line has been the last month?
Probably like 310, 488, slugging 510 with the OPS, probably about 878.
So Moncada's average 352.
Damn!
His OBP is 387. His slug is 591. And his OPS is 978.
Damn. So he's damn near 60 to 100 points higher than what I thought he was.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which we would never have thought, at this point with how things started, that they would be even near that. But remember last year, he was putting up that slash, very similar to that slash line those last 2 months of the season.
Same timeline too, Gonzo.
Same timeline. Yep. And let me pull up Anderson here because
wow,
Timmy was having
Dre
start.
From BGR talking about Moncada's ready for vacation. Yeah, kick rocks.
All right, let me pull up the line here. So Timmy, you want to guess Timmy's slash?
Give me shit. Well, Moncada's batting 350. There's no world I would think Tim Anderson's better than Yohan, so probably about 340 on base, probably 390 slugging, 480 OPS, 850.
So Timmy, the last 30, averaged 305, not too shabby.
Okay.
OBP 333, slug 389.
What?
OPS 723.
So the balls still haven't been leaving the park, but Timmy at least have been hitting the ball past somebody. I bet you his BABIP is well over 300 in that span too.
Yeah.
So,
which, if we're being truthful, Sox this season have been understatement struggling to get on base, but that's what Timmy has been doing in the second half of the season. Not very many people are driving him in, and that includes Luis Robert, because out of Luis's 37 homers, 26 were solo. So
yeah.
this is all, I mean, yeah, you got that's a big outliner to Grafal with lineup construction. Why is there this many loops in, the lineup if you do have Timmy get on base, but Luis is not in the position right behind him to drive him in? There's no security. There's a lot of holes, a lot of needed bats in this lineup. But from the two of them, let's just face it, like, we're gonna see how aggressive Chris Getz is to making this a belief that we are going to contend in 2024, because I just see it as a transition year. However, to get hired by Jerry, he told him that he's going to do what he can to speed that up to make this a contending team. He has a lot of work to do, Justin. And with that, some moves were made, Justin. Some moves were made today, and let's get into it here on Grafal's Grounds.
I don't have a problem making decisions. I don't have a problem making a call on a pitcher. I don't have a problem making a call on whatever our team needs at this particular moment.
All right, Jay.
Yeah, I mean, shit. Chris Getz brought in the new fucking cabinet. We got Josh Barfield, he's leaving Arizona. Brian Bannister, he's leaving the Giants, and Gene Watson's leaving the Royals to come help out. Now, the thing that I like about this is they're all external hires. Now, Gene Watson, of course, coming from Kansas City, like, you got to stop thinking that we have to go completely away from the Royals organization. That's the only sense of familiarity for Chris Getz outside of the Chicago White Sox. So you can't get mad at a guy for going for what he knows, trusting people who he's seen do the work. So, I mean, it wasn't really too much to take from it because we don't really know like what they'll have their fingerprints on. I know Brian Bannister is going to be working with the pitching staff, but at the end of the day, we won't probably see any fruit of their labor until spring training when we see the team start structurally changing. But at least he went out of the organization for the most part. That's my biggest takeaway. Not enough data to really put a strong take on it.
And that's really the big question, is what was he going to do considering his roles? Because Jerry gave him GM and president of baseball operations together. He's the baseball czar right now. And I believe in that opening press conference, I think it was Guff. Guff asked Jerry, one of the beat writers asked Jerry, is it going to be up to Chris Getz going forward with filling out those roles? Like, is there anything that Jerry's going to do? I think this was in the question with Tony La Russa. They were going to ask, Tony, their collaboration, if you can say that, with Tony. But ultimately, Jerry said that it truly is going to remain up to Chris Getz on filling the rest out. And going back to Jerry, if he wants to, or going back to La Russa, if he wants to talk to Tony or whoever, he can do so. Nothing is stopping Chris Getz and doing what he needs to do to fill those holes. And we saw it, he goes external. I mean, he came from internal. He saw what was there, and it looks like he didn't like what was there. So he clearly goes external and gets these, these three gentlemen. That's what was needed. I mean, we need new faces. We've seen over a decade of the guys in similar roles continuing the mediocrity. Let's just face it. I mean, nothing. We needed this change. We can't keep doing the same thing. That's just insanity. But let's go one by one, Justin. Let's start with who's going to be the assistant general manager. Josh Barfield, coming from the Diamondbacks. Talk to us here, Jay,
So
with his
I
time
know
in Arizona.
Yeah,
go
well,
ahead.
I mean, I want to start with, him as a player, him and his pops. Like, they were very good Major League Baseball players for the most part. So I don't really have to question their baseball acumen. Number two, with him getting the assistant GM, I feel like now we can step away from Chris Getz. Like, okay, I'm just the king of the castle. What I say goes. No, it's like with the Ryan Poles and the Ian Cunningham situation, whereas I just need a little bit more resources. Now, if you look at what Arizona has built in a very short amount of time, let's just be honest, Gonzo, it's a very young and athletic team. And if you're gonna go out and pick from that type of prototype, that's a great way to accelerate any rebuild, because you can outrun and you can outthrow some of your problems. Now, my one question with Josh Barfield is financially, because you don't really see the D-backs spending any type of money or having any huge transactions outside of a veteran deadline move. Obviously, they didn't really do anything this deadline besides what's my man named Paul Sewald. So I just want to see how much money him and Getz allocate together, like how they handle the financial part of the team.
That's crazy because Josh, he was the Diamondbacks director of player development. So he's coming from a very similar, role that Chris Getz was in.
Right.
But that's good. Like what you were saying, like we all saw this core come up with Arizona. It's a great core. So I'm happy at least that Josh is coming from an organization that's starting on the uptrend right now. With that
right. You've seen some of the success of a situation that Josh was involved with. It's very detached from what like you could say Pedro Grifol was a part of the World Series team in Kansas City, sure, but he didn't develop any of those players. He was just a coach in the organization. He was just another suit for them. Whereas Josh Barfield is basically the guy that's training the Velociraptors at Jurassic Park.
Yeah, I'm just trying to read up a little bit. Sure, a little bit of notes here. Let's just give a little development to his career. His playing time ended in 2013, and then he started his post-playing career as a scout with the Diamondbacks in 2016, moved his way up the front office depth chart until assuming his current role during the stretch from 2019 till now. So that really puts him in that position of like what you just said with this development that, that's part of his success, and hopefully he continues that here because we all, we do have a good core of players right now that were just drafted with Montgomery, Gonzalez, Schultz. Like, I'm happy that Barfield is going to come and be a guy to lean on with Chris because he's seen it happen in Arizona. He can come here and share some thoughts on how we can improve in this organization with player development. Because let's face it, we haven't had enough guys come through here truly developed through here, like Tim Anderson, and probably one of the most successful names come out of that. Like, we're hoping that Andrew Vaughn, as a highly selected first round pick, can really start to pick it up. And I mean, it's a slow start here for this year at first base, but lately he's starting to turn it up, and that's a guy you're going to have to lean on going forward at first base. So let's move on to Brian Bannister, Justin. He's going to come in here and be head of the pitching development in this organization. Talk to us. What's your thoughts on Brian?
Well, that's the best move that Chris Getz has made, and I'm gonna tell you why. Brian Bannister is the epitome of what I want our starters from now into the future going towards. If you look at what the major leagues is building, everybody's trying to build an army of velocity, and everybody is building an army of flamethrowers. When those don't work out, they don't have a backup plan. When you look at what the Giants were doing, they use pitchers that pitch to contact, and they are smart pitchers. So when you bring Brian Bannister into the situation where the White Sox are in a transition mode to start to get the next set of arms ready for the major leagues as fast as possible, because we got to remember, Gonzo, Getz got hired to make sure that Project Birmingham gets to 35th and Shields as quick as possible. What gets pitchers to the major league as quick as possible? Keeping their whip down in the minor leagues.
Yeah.
Pitchers only get the call when they get their whip down. Brian Bannister is here to get young pitchers whipped down so they could be more, it'll be easier to pluck them and get their bags packed so they can make a spot start for the big club and get my future ready.
Yeah, I know. Justin, I was talking to you in the studio before the show. Like, I really wanted to see this last month of baseball, at least get like Nostrani, some of these guys that are ready, that are right there ready, at least give them one start, get them up here, get them confident, get them one start to feel it out. And from there, you go into your development in the offseason. Like, they start putting guys in their program for winter ball. But we only have a week of baseball left, and we haven't seen that yet. And it's frustrating. But let me add some more for our chat here. This is coming from MLBTradeRumors.com, an article that they just published earlier today. A little background here on Brian Bannister. Both of them were teammates together, him and Getz, in 2010 in Kansas City. There's the Kansas City connection. But since retiring, the 42-year-old worked with your boys, Justin, the Red Sox, from 15 to 19. And you remember those years, Justin. Your boys were cruising. And hey,
Price, John Lackey, but those guys pitched to contact. Those were very mature starters.
Don't forget what they got from us. They got our boy Chris Sale, who helped them get that ring. So, but again, Brian Bannister was there in the Red Sox organization. Started in 15 as a scout, and then so in those 4 years to 2019, went from scout to assistant pitching coach, and then to a more analytical front office position as the director of pitching analysis and development. So to me, this tells me, he was a former pitcher in the big leagues, but also like it's interesting to see how he got more analytical with Boston's
Boston is
department.
an analytical. They are analytical in Boston at every level of the team. That's why, if you watch Alex Cora's pressers, like, he's so disgusted with the defensive production, that the defensive product that the Red Sox are putting out every day. He hates it because the metrics are bad, and when your manager is a utility player by trade, he values the little things in baseball, and the Red Sox were terrible at it this year. That's why they're under 500. That's why their manager has an attitude. He looks like Justin Fields at the presser every time.
Yeah. So, but again, this adds another position into the White Sox front office for analytics, which we have extremely lacked. And again, I know me and you are more old school, I guess you could say, with you and I, with as far as seeing the game.
Yeah, we're boomers. We're boomers.
And so is OJ and Slav. But again, we need more of the analytics, more of those minded people to balance it out, because the Sox are the same way. It only helps, and it'd be nice to get in a position like the Tampa Bay, who fully analytical can not only develop their players but trade them when needed and get, guys on
Well,
those.
I wouldn't say, because I think when you label analytical, I think we should use the term progressive, and I'm gonna tell you why.
Mm-hmm.
Because like people look at the Dodgers and what they're doing, they're one of the top analytics teams, pound for pound. Nobody's gonna argue that. But look at their success. It's tailored around Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman hitting 1-2. You mean to tell me there's a lot of equations going into the fact that the two best offensive players in your organization is leading off every inning, every game you start? Like, there's nothing analytical about that. I'm just putting my best punch forward.
So what I was, my perspective of it wasn't like going that route. I'm saying like judging your own talent analytically, so you can have them, on your whiteboard. You can be like, all right, this is where these guys are trending, and this is where their upside is, and I can trade them for talent.
Well, yeah, that's being progressive, because at the end of the
Yeah.
day, you're getting ahead of a possible problem. You're not
Yep.
using any secondary or third tier numbers to dissect a player. You're just trying to figure out, hey, if I go spend this $20 million a year on this left fielder, what is it going to take for me to fill my rotation? You're not looking the analytics route saying, well, if you just get a defensive center fielder, that'll solve the issue. No, you'll be progressive and be like, well, maybe I should worry about getting a starting pitcher before that outfielder.
I think we're going to put the progressive word on our shirts that we're going to create. Progressive is going to be one of the terms.
Yeah, look at what the Rays are doing. Like, I don't think it's analytical batting Yandy Diaz number 1, because he generates the most contact on your team. So what's the point of having a high on base guy batting leadoff if he doesn't generate contact? Especially if a guy like Yandy Diaz doesn't steal bases. So what's his value if he's not swinging the bat?
Yeah, it just seems like for Tampa Bay,
the bat.
Over the years, when it comes to those in-game situations, they just get too cute, overthink it, stick to those hard-sided, analytical decisions, and end up screwing themselves over. But again, like you need balance, and we're so one-sided here. It's not even funny.
Yeah, but you got to think, we got an army of DHs, and none of our starting pitchers could give us any length for us to use our so-called advantage, and that was the bullpen.
Yep.
Like, if you look at what the White Sox have turned into the last 2.5 years, I should say, is just a roster full of bad money.
I tell you what, though, I feel like I can lean on Brian Bannister to take a good look at Chris Getz. Take a good look at Katz, and really make a decision for not only, getting rid of Katz, but giving Chris Getz a good list of candidates to fill that role for this organization going forward. And I'm really eager to see that, because I've had it with Katz. I think we had it really good here with Cooper for all those years, and we've been struggling since Coop left to really fill that role. And it's a highly touted role right now. But let's move on to Gene Watson, who's going to be his role is going to be with player personnel. They haven't given us the exact title yet, but just player personnel. Watson also coming from Kansas City, so the Kansas City connection continues here.
Right.
And he has his ties with both Getz and Bannister, of course. He worked with the Royals from 2006 till now, 17 years. And then he worked one season with the Angels in between there in 2021. He's a longtime scout evaluator, but he's got a long career, kind of like Rafal, where this guy, he's worked with the Padres, Braves, Marlins during his career, going back all the way to 97.
You know what it sounds like? It sounds like Gene Watson is another set of eyes for Chris Getz. Like, he's like a reassurance of the eye test. Because if you look at the way the game is trending, Gonzo, you just went and added some analytic thunder into your front office. Gene Watson ain't that. So he has a very different role than Barfield and Bannister.
Which, I mean, we've heard so much of the rumors about Dayton Moore, coming originally with Chris. It's interesting how they bounce off that to go on that same path, though, with the Royals and stick with, Watson. I thought for sure, though, like, I wonder what truly is going on with Dayton Moore, because I thought for sure with Dayton Moore being a mentor to Chris Getz that he for sure would have been that outside source to come in to this player personnel role.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't want my sensei hovering over me when it's time for me to get anointed.
Yeah.
I don't want to be looking for his approval in a situation where I got all the leverage when I want to feel like the boss.
That's a great point.
So, like bringing Dayton Moore evaporates what Jerry Reinsdorf wants Chris Getz to do ultimately, and that's make the final decision.
Yep. Oh, man. Altogether, though, man, why do we have to rely on Kansas City to change what
they
we
got good
barbecue,
Gonzo.
All right. On that note, I think we've had a good discussion here about the front office.
Let me ask you a question,
forward.
Gonzo.
Yeah, what's up?
Who's your favorite Kansas City Royal of all time? Yeah. Billy Butler, Mark Tien, Alex Gordon, Eric Hosmer, Bruce Chan.
From what I've seen. Or
yeah.
You said all time?
From what you've seen. Like, you hate the Royals, but you like when he's in the lineup. Carlos Beltran, Dwayne Dye, Johnny Damon, Mike Sweeney.
I'm a pitcher, so from my time, Greinke.
Yeah.
It's been that's my guy right there, Greinke.
I like Greg Holland, Wade Davis. Luke Hochevar, when he was a setup guy, was fucking nasty for the Royals.
I wish I was old enough to have seen George Brett play.
He's one of the greatest hitters of all time, Gonzo.
Yep.
Yeah.
But now, now, they're in a nice. It's really nice to watch Bobby Witt Jr. play.
He's generational.
And he's generation.
Do you think is Luis Robert the best player in the Central? No.
Mm-mm.
And now what Bobby Witt is showing us, he's not even third best. He's third best, probably.
Yeah.
What if Carlos Correa just have a normal year next year?
And even Jose Ramirez's play, dude.
Yeah.
You can't count Jose out in that discussion, being up there in top 3 at least.
Exactly.
Like, yeah, it's great with what Luis Robert is showing this season, but this is the first time he's proven that. We need consistency. We get so happy off of 1 year that we're satisfied.
Matter of
Can't
fact,
be satisfied with just 1 year.
Gonzo, I need a big favor from you now. We got Kool-Aid Dre in the chat today. I need you to tell Dre we need to see more in regard to Luis Robert.
Dre, we need to see more, my guy.
We need to see more.
The link. We need to see more. We need to see him do it again in 2024. Not only that, but I want to see Luis Robert. I've seen enough. We need to see more at the bat. I need to see more with his arm.
You can't hit 40 home runs in bat.
I want to see him throw someone out at the plate. Damn it.
Not gonna happen. Who do you think he is? Michael Harris?
Stop. Don't get 9 in the chat too. All right. That wraps up the front office.
Yeah. Can't hit 40 home runs and bat 250.
Yeah. Guys, chat, we were here last week talking about Michael Kopech going to the pen and, being optimistic about what we can see out 2024 in the pen. And in less than a week later, the White Sox have just moved him back into the rotation for another start here coming up here next week.
You might as well, if he's gonna, why have a guy throw batting practice for 1 inning when you could just have him throw 4 rounds of batting practice?
We're really trying to tank, man. We're trying to get
It sucks.
that first round pick.
Oh!
This is the exact opposite of what we want. That'd be great tomorrow. They're like, nah, we're back to the pen. The new guys that came in that we just hired have just convinced me to go back.
Every night to kick your ass. Now you're preparing every night to tank.
Mm-hmm. However, in that same breath, Garrett Crotchet is back looking healthier. As he's looking like his 2020 self.
Come on,
with his
man.
velocity.
He pitched today.
The movement, he still needs to. He
pitched today. He pitched today.
No, he didn't pitch today, Justin.
He pitched yesterday.
Wait, I didn't get to see him yet.
Oh, okay.
All I saw was minor league highlights, which isn't much, but I'm happy because now I
the
see
rebuild
that he's
is back on.
Again. Yes, and that brings us to this point. Crochet's in the pen, which means, Justin, last time I heard about Crochet's developmental plan, Rick Hahn, our former GM, his whole belief was him being in the rotation. And now with him being healthy under a new GM, Chris Getz is having start off in the pen. I haven't heard yet any details of that going forward of where he envisions him in 2024. But to me, that's quite at least the difference from the two GMs here. So
yeah,
I'm eager to see what Chris Getz's plan is to develop Crochet, if that's in the pen or rotation. Me personally, right now, I'm at that belief where you've already screwed him up in his development that I just want to see him in the pen right now. I want to see both Kopech and Crochet in the pen because they need to build innings somewhere, and I'd rather see that in the pen.
Oh, it's over with for Kopech. I mean, Crochet, you probably got one more season before you can close the book. We're creeping up on Andrew Miller. I think Andrew Miller had more starts than Garrett Crotchet as a major leaguer before we made that decision. I think Matt Strom had more fucking starts than Garrett Crotchet before they made that decision. So the thing about it is Kopech ain't going to the bullpen for necessity. He's going to the bullpen because you can't have a 2 whip in your rotation. You just can't. What needs to take place with the Chicago White Sox is you got to figure out what you're doing with Clevenger. I mean, I know we're supposed to talk about Garrett Crotchet, and I'm glad he's back with the team. And I'm also glad that we're not wasting any time and we're putting him in the fucking bullpen. We're not playing with him. We're not trying to loosen him out. Like, building his arm strength up and building his innings count is the reasons we're having setbacks in this process, Gonzo. Why haven't we figured that out? Like, maybe we're just pushing somebody in a direction they don't need to be going.
Yep.
So you figure out what you're doing for Clevenger because he's been the ace this year. And he 9 times out of 10, if you keep him rostered, he might be the ace next year for less than the ace price. Especially for a team that isn't planning to win 97 games.
You know, I'm shocked that no one picked up Clevenger off waivers this whole time. None of those playoff teams even wanted to take a shot on him. So political. And that's a whole different conversation with the league being political, but that's a guy that some of these contenders, these like Miami right now, they can use another arm on that push to the postseason.
You don't think Cincinnati, Arizona, you don't think those guys could have used a rental to at least get them over the hump since they wasn't going to pay the iron price for an arm at the deadline?
That leads us to another. So let me ask you this:
the Red Sox.
The Red
Sox been needing starting pitching for the last year and a half.
Justin, you would think that, like any other player, he would want to test free agency to get more than $12 million a year, and he should be able to get it with the numbers he's putting up. Do you believe he will?
I don't think he'll get that. I don't think he's going to get that tag because if he was, he wouldn't have passed through waivers. Think about that. He would have been rostered. If somebody would have wanted him, he would have been had.
Yeah.
Especially
and
now, especially for free, Gonzo.
I really thought for sure he was going to earn more money than now that we've seen him, up to this point. We still have a week to go, but up to this point, the league has passed him. And that's only good news for the White Sox because they got, if let's just say Kopech does go to the pen like we're assuming he should, right? Sox have 4 positions to go, and now they're going to have Cease and Clevenger likely. So now we only got 3 spots to fill. So that's one less spot to overblow money in free agency on pitching.
Right. And then you got to think about it too. You don't need to make sure that you got 5 spots locked up if you're going to already be funneling young arms through the major leagues throughout the year next year.
And I tell you right now, spring training, I need to see what Nostrani and Mania has. I want to see those two get a nice shot in spring training. See what they got, because that could be 2 guys right there that could take your 4 or 5 spots in the rotation, and then you only need 1 spot to fill in free agency.
Yeah, and even if you don't want to, even if you, let's just say those guys just absolutely ball out in spring training, but you don't want to go that route, that's fine, but at least you know what you have, and you could bring them into a Davis Martin situation. You remember when anytime we needed an emergency, we hit in Davis Martin line? Well, maybe Chris Getz is responsible to having 4 Davis Martins on the team. Maybe that's the plan, is to make sure that we keep a pipeline of young players funneled throughout the organization at a continuous and consistent rate. Now, the big issue with that, Gonzo, with all of that player movement, nobody can get comfortable. And when nobody gets comfortable, do you really get to see what somebody has to offer? Because it's just a revolving door. Like, look how small the cup of coffee Popeye had this year. And he was one of the most talented guys we had in the minors. But he was here today and gone tomorrow a couple of times. So this type of situation, like, you could get excited about the volume of young talent that will be featured the next couple of years. But at the same time, will they be in the majors long enough? Will they stick to get a foothold with the big boy club? That's yet to be known.
It's going to be Darwinism, man.
Mm-hmm. Survival of the prospects.
Survival of the prospects in the pitching department. Because that's going to include, like you said, Martin and guys that got shot on the Flyers with Tukey.
We still got Lambert, right?
Lambert's in there, and I'm sure Schultens is going to be in that mix.
Exactly. Especially if they
Sean
go into
Burke,
the spring all healthy.
Sean Burke in AAA, I'm sure he'll be in there. Matthew Thompson's going to be in there. There's some guys
Ramsey is going to get some starts next spring.
Oh, man. All right, Justin. I think it's that part of that time of the show that we are going to have to discuss our MLB All-Time Series, Justin.
Beautiful. Just absolutely beautiful. And it is my favorite position on the diamond.
And just a recap for the chat. Justin was here. The 3 of us went with Pudge Rodriguez. Ivan Rodriguez.
For the catcher,
For the catcher. So I'll let you start us off, man. First base. Who is your all-time first baseman?
My all-time first baseman is Jeff Bagwell, the best all-around first baseman in MLB history. His 1999 season is one of the best offensive seasons ever put together. 30-30 year on-base machine, 1,200 OPS, I think, in 94. So really the total package, offense and defense, everything you will want in a major league. Like if you had Mike Trout at first base, it was Jeff Bagwell. I mean, there were guys that hit more home runs on a career level, won more Gold Gloves, sure. But in totality on both sides of the diamond, it was hard to beat a prime Jeff Bagwell because you had a first baseman hitting 30 home runs, 40 doubles, 30 stolen bases, all the RBIs, all the walks, none of the strikeouts, the batting stance, the protection in the lineup. I mean, that's my boy. So Jeff Bagwell, that's my guy. That's what I'm going with.
And chat not only give us the why, but we need to hear where he's going to be at in your lineup. Justin, as you end it, where are you going to put him?
I'm batting Bagwell second. I feel like at that point, as being a right-handed power hitter, I'm just going to take the easy way out and probably mirror him with I don't know, maybe my left fielder when we get to that point. But second. Yeah, Bagwell's batting second for sure.
Okay. Actually, I talked to Junior about this in the studio last week, so we actually agreed, ironically, again, on our first baseman. Our first baseman, both Junior and I, I'll say it since he's not here with us, but it's Albert Pujols.
Wow.
Yeah, 22-year career. And I'll give some numbers because I like to be elaborate here. And this is his career average. Slash line of 296 average, 374 OBP, 544 slug, an OPS of 918, OPS plus of 145 for those nerds out there. And in this career, that was 703 home runs. Some awards and accomplishments of old Albert: 11 All-Star Game appearances, 3 MVPs, 2 Golden Gloves, 6 Silver Slugger awards. He had a career WAR of 101, which is 20th all time. Just a nice little nugget for you. 1,405 extra base hits. That's 3rd all time. And this is a cool one too. Double plays turned as a first baseman. We always love seeing our boy Pito do that at first base, but Albert had 1,702 of them. It's 8th all time. And that's a little breakdown of Albert's accomplishments and career numbers. All time, I'm putting Albert in my lineup. I didn't get to ask OJ this, but in my lineup, Albert is batting cleanup.
Yeah.
4th. So yeah, for me, I got Albert 4th and then Pudge Rodriguez at 8th in my lineup so far.
I think that's where I agreed with the catcher with Pudge in 8th. But I mean, I like the pick of Albert Pujols. When you look at his body of work and what he represented on the baseball field to every team he played with. Now, the worst part of Albert Pujols' career is he was teamed up with that fraud Mike Trout. I feel like if you team him up with any other superstar at that point in his career, you see a different Albert Pujols. But like everything else that goes to LA, he died. But we did get to see his career revitalized with the Cardinals and the Dodgers. What was that, last year, 2 years ago, when he hit 700? So
I can't believe
I like it. I probably would have batted. I would have batted him 3 or 4. One of the best run producers we've ever seen.
I still can't believe in his last year he hit 20 bombs. Old Albert out here. Yeah,
I mean, he was good at hitting.
Yeah, no, he was. I'm just, it's hard to see like in their like last seasons them truly make a difference out there. But his power never left. Like I watched Tommy. I know he had his back issues, but this last year wasn't anything like that. Like I think, and like even Miguel Cabrera, like those numbers aren't even close to where Albert was. So it's
but you got to think like Albert Pujols. The reason he has 700 home runs is because his power, his ability to put the barrel of the bat on a baseball naturally is otherworldly. So even when he's not feeling his greatest, that's the one thing he could do is I'll barrel it up. Like, even when I'm getting older and I'm behind the fastball, I could cheat and still barrel it up. Like with Miguel Cabrera, it's like he's just swinging with circle from the PlayStation because he's a good contact guy. That's what he does naturally, is just spray the baseball, hit it where it needs to be hit.
And both Cabrera and Poole also, they were so naturally gifted at just taking that ball the opposite, oppo field, just taking it the other way and just driving it out opposite field.
That comes
just
from playing
beautiful.
Pepper. You got to play Pepper.
Gotta play Pepper.
You do.
So yeah, Chet, next week, I think we're going to roll the second base next week. What do you say?
Well, I'll be having trouble getting into second base, so hopefully you guys can help me out.
And that, my friends, we're going to go move on to our White Sox Daily. Jay, I was going to ask if you had any honorable mentions, but I certainly didn't have any.
Mark Teixeira, John Olerud, Carlos Delgado.
I was going to say Andrew Vaughn, but I need to see more.
Shut the fuck. See, that's the problem. That's why we say the things we say about you in the group chat. You were having a great fucking show, and you just had to.
I wish Junior and Slav were here because we could have had this discussion that we had with Corbin Carroll and Tim Raines.
Yeah, how Tim Raines was better than Corbin Carroll his rookie year.
I just wanted to see Slav's face in life and not just in the group chat. But anywho, the White Sox this week are going to be having a 3-game series this weekend in Boston. Friday, Touki Toussaint versus Chris Sale. Saturday's Cease versus Pivetta. Sunday is going to be, it is. Sunday is going to be Clevenger versus Crawford. I'm actually interested in both games, Saturday, Sunday. One for Cease and Pivetta, just because Cease, I think I have to look at the strikeouts. I think he's at 196, so I want to see him get to over the 200.
Yeah, he's going to get over 200, but the White Sox are in big trouble.
He's got a start or two left, I think. I want to see how far Cease will go with his strikeouts.
He'll probably be at about 215 in the season.
Mm-hmm. But also Sunday's matchup, Clevenger Crawford. That's going to be one hell of a matchup. Just seeing how Clevenger finishes off this season versus a nice. I know they got eliminated. I know your boys got eliminated, Justin, but that offense is hot.
Well, that's the thing with the Red Sox is the offense is always going to be there because the Fenway Park is an electric factory. The reason why, I want to get into Saturday and Sunday. Let's start with Saturday. The White Sox are in fucking deep trouble because Nick Pivetta is on a heater. And when Nick Pivetta is hot, he strikes out people in bunches. I'm talking about has innings where it's 6 to 7 guys set down via the K. That is not good when the only sense of offense you have is Luis Robert hitting a solo home run or the occasional Andrew Vaughn RBI double. So that's going to be the matchup I'm looking at Saturday. Can the White Sox put together a crooked number in between the strikeouts? Because I'm not going to say Nick Pivetta isn't going to strike. I think he's going to strike out over 8 guys in a 5-inning game. Now, roll that back over to Clevenger, and now the Red Sox are in a situation to where they can get carved the fuck up like a Halloween pumpkin with Clevenger because now he's back on a heater. Now he is actually gobbling up innings. Like, if you're watching White Sox games right now, you're seeing Mike Clevenger dispatch of any type of hitter. You're a power hitter, you're out of the way. You're a contact slap guy. You're getting disposed of early in the account. He is really pitching a dynamite ball game right now, Gonzo. We could be looking at a 4-hitter Sunday to end the Fenway series. Seriously. So those two games, Pavetta Saturday and Clevenger Sunday, those are the two guys to watch in that series.
Yeah, and I didn't even get to look at the hitters. You want to talk about your boys, the batting?
Yeah, I mean, Rafael Devers is another 30 home run season, but he's been down a little bit because the RBI hasn't been there. The base hit ain't been there. Verdugo, he's having a down year. I actually hope we trade Alex Verdugo. Tristan Casas hit the IL. The White Sox are lucky they dodging him. He was on the climb to get like an 870 OPS. Pound for pound, probably the rookie of the year in the American League. You're gonna miss out on that. The guy that I'm watching right now, I'm not really a prospect guy, but Cedane Rafaela for the Red Sox. He plays a little bit of center field and shortstop. He is an electric baseball player. He reminds me of, he got a little bit of Ricky Henderson, and he got a little Jose Reyes into him. So that's a good player to watch. But when you look at the Red Sox in totality, Gonzo, we were just talking about their good offensive team, but that's not going to be the team that the White Sox are going to be facing come this weekend. Like the Red Sox have been, the offense has been down. Trevor Story has came back. He's been a strikeout machine per usual. You're not getting that much production from the catcher position. Our most athletic player, Jarren Duran, has been on the shelf for a month. So it's not like you're facing the Red Sox at the peak of their powers. You're facing medium Sox, mid Sox.
I thought for sure you're gonna go off on Kosas, your boy.
Nah, he's on the shelf. I'm gonna just save it till the off season. But I'm definitely gonna 2-hand twist as soon as we start talking the off season rankings and we get into the shredder.
Oof. Well, I just hope they put enough pieces to protect Vaughn in the lineup, give him some more opportunity.
Not gonna happen.
To drive some people in, get some more guys on base for Vaughnie. All right, going to next week, we got a series versus the Diamondbacks at home Monday through Wednesday. Monday's matchup's going to be Yarena versus another Cy Young candidate and Zach Gallen. Hey, let Gallen pad his stats, all right?
He's got a better chance of winning Cy Young than that fraud Strider.
I'm going to pack you up one of these days.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Strider's probably going to be second. And then we'll get to end the year awards because Snell's running away with it right now. Tuesday, Schultens versus Kelly. Another guy, solid cat there, Justin, and Merritt Kelly.
He had a really good year this year.
Yeah. He's followed up back-to-back years. But he really took an amazing jump this year, and that's why the Diamondbacks had one hell of a first half of the season. And things were kind of fluttering ever since. But Wednesday's matchup is second start from Tuki Toussaint. I don't even know who the hell Paffett is.
Oh, Fott?
Fott? Yeah. I can't
batting practice. That's probably, like, I know you said you retired from gambling. You should bet the White Sox to score 7+ that day.
Yeah, I do that, and he's probably going to throw a complete game shutout.
No, don't bet on it. Bet on the White Sox taking batting practice. He throws a lot of high breaking balls, and that's what Luis Robert likes.
Yeah. Well, talk to me a little bit about Christian Walker and that offense before we head out here.
You look at the D-backs offense, they exude youth. Like you think a young, fast team. But if you take a look at the heart of the order, when you get into the Christian Walkers and the Lourdes Gurriels, Alec Thomas is the big dog in there right now. If you look at what the D-backs are trying to do, the top of their lineup and the bottom third mirror each other. And you just get the isolated part of the middle of the order. It's amazing when you think of a team with only Christian Walker as the number one right-handed power source, let's just be honest. I mean, I know Lourdes Gurriel got 20 plus home runs, but when you look at power, you think of Christian Walker. How do you survive with just that right-handed power? You got to look at everybody else's ability to get on base, not to hit for power, not to even hit for average, just to get on base. You talk about Corbin Carroll, outstanding on base guy. Ketel Marte, outstanding on base guy. Even Gerardo Perdomo, outstanding on base guy. So the key to Christian Walker is doing exactly what you said for Andrew Vaughn, is sandwiching him in between everybody getting on base. And when you got guys beneath Christian Walker, you don't have to worry about him just driving somebody on a single because he's in scoring position at first base because of Gurriel's ability to hit the ball out of the ballpark, for Alec Thomas's ability to hit the ball out of the ballpark. So my biggest concern with the D-backs lineup is keeping the run game in check, because that's not a team that waits on any third base signs. They have the green light, and it's not just one guy with the green light. It's about 4. So I'm anxious to see how Corey Lee handles base runners in that series. How often he's going to throw behind runners, not sacrificing any disengagements on the mound for his pitchers.
I feel for
even though we're
Corey
in
Lee
Chicago,
right now.
you gotta do the tedious stuff.
Yeah. And that's that all we can really rely on right now from Corey Lee's on the defensive side, getting better, because offensively there isn't much. But ultimately, we just care about the defensive side first, because that's a guy that, he has a lot to learn at the major league level, right. Especially when you have a guy like Dylan Cease. You got to get used to what he has, not only for yourself feeling comfortable with what he has, but letting Dylan Cease feel comfortable with what he has, because, we've seen him. I think we've seen him giving up on his off speed, like trusting his slider knuckle curve.
Yeah, the back foot
he doesn't trust it being blocked.
Back foot is out the door, Gonzo. Like, he's not trying. He can't throw any 60-foot breaking balls anymore. Like, it's out of the equation now.
And that's why, like, at first, like, I was laughing at Salvi Perez coming here, because I'm like, do we really need it? Like, with this contract and what he has to offer right now. But I'm like, wait a second. Dylan Cease hasn't had a guy like Salvi Perez behind the dish. Grandal is certainly not that. So I welcome it. I honestly welcome it if we can get a solid veteran in here that is solid not only with the bat but defensively as well.
Now, the White Sox are trying to go the fiscally conservative route, but you're not paying for Salvador Perez at the best of his ability. So it's not like you're paying the iron price. If you put Corey Lee in a situation, I was just about to touch on what Rafa was saying, put him in a position to be a backup catcher, then the lack of contact don't hurt you as much. Then you shorten the sample size on top of letting him learn from a guy that's been doing it at a high level directly in front of him. He's not just a prospect lower on the depth chart. He's somebody who's being groomed into a position in real time. So it could be a great opportunity for the White Sox to plant the seeds for some transcendence and get that back in the organization.
Yeah, because again, we go back to it earlier with competition. Next in 2025, likely he's going to be having competition with Kiro. So yeah,
right. And you see Kiro's offensive talent. Like he has a good feel for the plate, not only as a defender but as a switch hitting catcher that knows how to pick one out. That puts a lot of pressure on Corey Lee to get better at isolated offensive parts of his game, because there is a guy that can replace you almost immediately.
And I was going with what you're saying. Ultimately, it kind of feel for him, because like he just came from that situation in Houston where he was the backup to Maldonado, Like he was the fringe catcher there, and
Yeah.
we traded for him thinking that he was going to come here and get those reps right away. When all together, now we're starting to feel like, we're putting ourselves in that contention window. So we're going to likely go trade a guy for like Selvey, and he's back to that role again. So I just hope that he takes that with pride and like actually, pushes himself.
I mean, it got to take time. You can't fucking bat 100 and get upset that your at bats getting cut in half. Well, I mean,
exactly.
We're telling you right now, kid, that this is a competition. Like, just because you're losing, we're not going to slow our process down.
Yep.
We still got to do what we got to do to keep ourselves from being the Chicago White Sox.
And nothing's going to stop us, man, from picks to click this week, because we have our own competition, folks. Hey, Rafa, thanks for joining us, man. We really appreciate you here at the end of the show here.
Rafa.
And I do.
Rafa, not Rafa.
Rafa.
Right.
I like Hero as well. And I know you, Justin, had picked Lee last week. That didn't put you over the hump this week. OJ won back-to-back weeks. OJ is now tied with you. There's a third-place tie right now.
What the fuck?
The standings right now, I got 7. Slav has 6 right behind me. You and OJ are tied at 5 with 1 week to go. So one of you are either going to break it or it's going to be a tie. And if Slav wins, then I'm tied at first. This is going to be an interesting week, Justin. Listen, Mankata's off the board. That's who OJ won it with. OJ is going with Robert Jr., of course. Go figure. He gets a nice, easy pick there. Or sorry, not Robert. My bad. He won it. My bad. I made a mistake. I'm looking at last week's shit, Justin. Mankata is not off the board. Robert's off the board this week. OJ won it with Mankata. Your look on your face.
Because, man.
I know, I'm just messing with you. I was right. He's going with Mankata this week. Robert's off the board. He went with Robert. I was right originally.
Okay.
I know. You had to give me that look. I had to make sure you're on your toes because I got to make sure you're comprehending this.
What?
So,
what type of...
Mankata is off the board. OJ went with Mankata. So it's going to go Junior, Slav, me, and then you. Don't pick Lee. Lee's not going to win your third place bet.
I'm not trying to win no fucking third place.
So Slav is going to go Eloy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to do it because I always feel like I jinx myself when I pick him. But I'm going to go Andrew Vaughn. I've been saying it from the beginning of the season. I'm all in on him. I'm going to end it with Vaughn. He's been hot. I'm going to go with him. That's where I'm at with these picks to click. I'm going on a limb here. Jay, I don't know how you're going to do it to not end up in last, but Robert, Mankata, Eloy, and Vaughn are off the board.
Give me Gavin Sheets. You people are idiots. You people are really dumb. I just won pick to click.
I thought you were going to go with Elvis. No. Okay. You could have gone Lee again.
No, you just told me not to go Lee. So now it's either I go Elvis Andrus or Corey Lee, right?
Yeah.
No.
You want How
I'm
many
going
starts?
I'm going Gavin Sheets, and he's gonna hit
How
a
many?
grand slam. He's gonna hit the first 5-run homer in franchise history tomorrow.
How many starts does he get in the next 7 days?
4. That's all I
Okay.
need.
I hope you get it, dude. Because if OJ's in last, all hell breaks loose.
Yeah. I wish the Guardians was in last place.
I can't believe they went all in on Giolito.
Yeah.
And Giolito's starting to turn around a little bit.
No, he's just a very streaky pitcher.
Trying to give him some credit. Nine some credit.
Yeah.
I can't do that. All right, so Junior's going Moncada. Slav is going Eloy. I'm picking Vaughn, and Jay's going with Gavin Bonds. Gavin Sheets.
Egyptian cotton sheets.
Folks, that is our picks. It's time for shout-outs. Jay, you lead off shout-outs this week, man. We haven't heard from you in a while.
So basically, I want to give a shout out to the love of my life, Asia. We celebrated our 2-year anniversary yesterday. The fastest 2 years of my life. Couldn't be happier. She helps me set my fantasy lineups. She's the greatest cake decorator on the planet. All the goodies, all the goodness. Shout out to you, Asia, for being absolutely outstanding. It is an honor to watch you grow and be successful in everything you do. If you're ever listening to this, I want to say I love you and thank you.
Made me so happy.
Come on, man. Don't do this to me.
Those are some beautiful photos to your
You
anniversary.
You better hurry up. My iPad has 4%.
All right. It wasn't my 2-year anniversary, but I'm going to give a shout out to my girl, Soraya. Soraya is right now a nervous train wreck for her first exam this semester. She's studying her ass off right now, so I hope she succeeds.
She's going to kill it.
And she's going to kill it. She will. She needs to ace that shit so we can go celebrate. Gotta find some nice places out here in San Diego to go celebrate. But she's my first shout out, and I gotta give some shout outs to you, some of y'all in the chat. Thanks, Dre, for being with us. I saw Caleb in there, and he's a Twins fan. What the hell is he doing in this chat? I see KG from our little Joes. KG, we need an update on how our blackout consumptions are going right now. They should be off the charts, I would imagine. Who else we got? Ramos, Angel popped in. Yankees fan, Justin. Yankees fan watching. Rafa's joined the show. Nice seeing you, my guy. Thanks for everyone for tuning in and listening to the show. Last but not least, I'm actually gonna give shout out to the Bears for giving us another embarrassment because it takes a little heat off the White Sox. Are
you serious?
Bro, you know how excited I was for year 3 of Justin, and I have to watch Luke Getzey. The Getsy, man. Bro, they're wearing each other's masks, I swear, man. They're ruining this whole shithole of I thought we had something going. You know, we all were waiting for that year 3 jump with Fields, and then they had all off season come up with a scheme going into year 3, and we just see this shit show going forward. And then today's news, which, hold on, all right.
No.
John Zagul, okay.
Oh my God.
God bless him, because he's earned his reporting skills. Let's just say that it's true, right? It's what rumors are.
Why?
All right.
Why?
All I say, John, All right. That's just a touchy subject. I wouldn't blow that story out if it's unofficial. I would hold on to that news, hold on to it until it has been official.
This is a baseball podcast.
I know. I'm just. God bless John. All right, he needs it. Twitter's going after him. It's frustrating because he doesn't deserve it. He doesn't, because we don't even know. Everything's unofficial right now. We don't even know what is official, what is the truth.
Why would the FBI leak an investigation to a blogger?
He wouldn't.
So how does he know?
So first off, you have to ask that question to George. If that's true, if George has to know. If that is true, right? George would have to know. Because everything else makes no sense. Because now you blow it, like now that it's out there, now the subject knows that there's an investigation on him, and then that's why he lawyers up today, because that was actually true. That was leaked that he did. He wasn't always representative by this attorney. That was as of today. So something's going on. Yeah, there's a lot to this that I would say. A lot of terms I saw out there, a lot of media terms being used. Because I'm telling you right now, the FBI SWAT team's not raiding Hallis Hall for equipment. They
didn't raid it at all.
The FBI's legal division would go in there with a search warrant. There would not be no FBI raid team. They're not doing that for Hallis Hall.
They're not doing it in anything.
Material. I'm telling you right now. I'm telling you right now, that's completely blown out of proportion. Maybe I'll just say this, Jay. Maybe whoever that source is told John whatever verbiage of FBI, but they're all media people, so they don't understand the true concepts behind my field. So it gets blown out of proportion because they don't know what they're talking about. But anywho, we're not going to go more into this because it's just
too late.
It's all a black hole out here. Yeah, you got anything else? Any last thoughts here?
The Chicago White Sox make me unhappy, and I can't wait to watch the next game.
Yeah, so
let's
everyone,
go, Gavin Sheets.
Tune into next week. We're gonna break down what we think this roster is gonna look like in 2024, out of internal options for 2024, because we have a whole off season to talk about ads from external routes, outlets. But next week, we're going to look at the internal outlook of what is to come in 2024. And then we will go into our all-time second baseman. So, from myself, from Justin Lee, thank you for watching the Blackout Show, presented by the Guillen Grid. Thanks for tuning in, people. Beep, beep.